The moment the sun touched the quiet suburban street, the trouble began again. Jack stepped outside with his coffee and froze mid-sip. Karen's shiny white BMW was parked directly across his garage again. For the fifth morning in a row, he stared at the same scene, her car perfectly positioned to block him from leaving, as if she enjoyed watching his frustration grow. The hook was undeniable. This wasn't an accident. This was intentional. From the first day he moved in, Karen had been an expert at small aggressions disguised as neighborly accidents. A trash bin placed halfway across his driveway. A garden hose stretched just enough to trip him. A sarcastic wave every time he reversed his car. But today, he could feel something different brewing in the air. Something that promised a twist deeper than petty neighbor drama. He didn't know it yet, but the truth behind Karen's behavior would unfold into a shocking reveal. He took a deep breath and knocked on her door. Karen appeared with sunglasses and a smirk, not even pretending innocence. "Oh, is my car in your way again?" she said sweetly. Jack kept his voice calm. "Could you please move it? I have an appointment." She shrugged. "I'll get to it when I get to it." And then she gently closed the door, not angrily, but lazily, like she had the right to inconvenience him. Jack stared at the closed door, feeling the frustration turn into something else, resolve. This wasn't a one-time problem. This was sabotage dressed as inconvenience. And for the first time, he realized he needed more than politeness to stop her. This was only the beginning. Jack tried everything polite people try before losing patience. He left notes on Karen's windshield, she ignored them. He tried talking again, she laughed. He even recorded videos of her blocking his garage, thinking evidence might help. But every morning, the BMW was there like a silent reminder that she believed she owned the street. Things escalated when Jack returned one afternoon to find Karen standing with her arms crossed in front of his garage. "You know," she said, "some people in this neighborhood don't appreciate newcomers changing the flow of things." Jack blinked. "By parking in my garage?" She shrugged. "It's just a car. You can wait." Her confidence wasn't normal, it felt as if she believed she had authority. Jack soon discovered why. Later that day, a neighbor, Mr. Lewis, approached him quietly. "You should know," he whispered, "Karen. She used to be on the HOA board. She thinks she still runs the place. She's not president anymore, but she acts like the street belongs to her." Everything suddenly made sense, her tone, her boldness, her habit of lecturing everyone. Jack wasn't the first target. He was simply her newest. Jack thanked him and felt something shift inside. If Karen was used to playing power games, then she needed a reminder that boundaries existed for everyone. That night, as he stared at his blocked garage yet again, he made a decision that would change everything. He wasn't going to fight her with words, he was going to fight her with creative, legal, perfectly calm strategy, something Karen wasn't prepared for. Jack researched for hours. Driveway safety laws, property boundaries, protective post installations, everything a homeowner needed to secure their garage from unauthorized vehicles. What he found wasn't just helpful, it was the perfect solution. He called a contractor the next morning. "I'd like 2 steel protective posts installed on each side of my garage entrance," he said. "Painted bright yellow, reflective strips, standard safety height." The contractor nodded. "These are usually used for warehouses or commercial buildings. But they're perfectly legal for personal property." Jack smiled. "Good. That's exactly what I need." When the workers arrived, the noise drew everyone's attention, including Karen's. She marched outside, hands on hips. "What is that supposed to be?" Jack remained calm. "Safety posts. Since cars keep hitting the edge of my driveway, this will protect the structure." Karen's eyes narrowed. "Are you implying my car is the problem?" Jack shrugged politely. "If you stop parking in front of my garage, the posts won't matter at all." She huffed loudly. "I'll be reporting you to the HOA." Jack's smile deepened. "Feel free. I already checked, they can't stop me." For the first time, Karen didn't have a comeback. She just watched the posts being drilled into the ground, each clang echoing across the street like a countdown to something bigger. Neighbors gathered, whispering. Some shook Jack's hand. Others chuckled quietly. Everyone knew the truth. Karen was finally losing her power, but Karen wasn't someone who accepted defeat easily. She was about to make a mistake that would change the entire street. 2 days later, the steel posts stood firm and bright, gleaming under the noon sunlight like silent guards. Jack felt relieved. Finally, no more blocked mornings. No more petty games. But Karen? She looked angrier every hour, pacing around her house, muttering under her breath, sending long irritated messages into her phone. Then came the day everything changed. Jack walked out at 8 a.m., ready for work, only to find Karen standing next to her BMW again. But this time, the car wasn't blocking his garage. She stood there with a proud smile and said, "See? I didn't block you today. Aren't you lucky?" Jack found her behavior suspiciously calm, but he ignored it and stepped into his car. Karen lingered, which was unusual. "Leaving so soon?" she asked innocently. Jack raised an eyebrow. "It's my driveway." He reversed slowly, and that's when it happened. Karen, watching closely, seemed to forget something crucial. She stepped toward her BMW, opened the door, and tried to squeeze her car forward while Jack was backing out, but the steel posts were now part of the environment. And she hadn't accounted for them. With a sudden jolt, her BMW clipped the edge of one post. The sound wasn't loud or dramatic, it was more like a thud of realization. She froze. Completely. Her eyes widened as she stepped out and saw the slight dent in her car's bumper. Not dangerous. Not dramatic. But undeniable. For the first time, Karen stared at something she had caused, and the consequences were only beginning. Karen stared at the dented bumper like it was a personal betrayal. "This is your fault," she blurted, pointing at Jack. He stepped out calmly. "Karen, you moved your car. You miscalculated. The posts aren't inside your parking space." She shook her head furiously. "You installed those just to trap me." Neighbors stepped outside again. It was becoming a daily show. Mr. Lewis folded his arms. "Karen, those posts protect his garage. They're legal." She shot him a glare. "Stay out of this." Karen pulled out her phone and began recording dramatically. "This man intentionally damaged my vehicle," she shouted. Jack didn't raise his voice. "Karen, the camera will show your car moving. Not mine." She blinked. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. Logic wasn't helping her argument. Then, in classic Karen fashion, she made her next move. "I'm calling the police." Jack sighed but didn't panic. The officers arrived within minutes. Karen rushed to them. "He set a trap. He installed these metal things just so people hit them. Arrest him." The officers walked to Jack. "Sir, can we talk?" He nodded. "Of course. Everything is recorded. And the posts are on my property. Installed legally." He handed them the permit and the installation papers. The officers reviewed everything carefully. Meanwhile, Karen hovered anxiously. Finally, one officer turned to her and spoke gently. "Ma'am, the posts are legal. And you hit them yourself." Karen stood speechless. For the first time, her confidence cracked. Karen paced back and forth as the officers explained the situation to her again, slowly, clearly, kindly. "No law has been broken," the officer said. "No one is at fault except the driver who misjudged the distance. There's no crime here." But Karen wasn't used to hearing no. Especially not in front of neighbors. Her voice shook as she tried one last excuse. He did it to humiliate me." The second officer shook his head. "Ma'am, he installed safety posts. They're standard. They're not meant for you specifically." Jack remained silent. Calm. Professional. A stark contrast to Karen's spinning emotions, and then something unexpected happened. The officer asked, "Why were you even parked close enough to hit the post?" Karen froze. She didn't expect that question. Neighbors watched her struggle for words. Finally, she muttered, I wasn't paying attention. That was it. The truth she never wanted to admit. The officers nodded politely and headed back to their car. Karen stood alone, staring at her dented bumper again. It was small. Reparable. Not dangerous. But symbolically. It was a crack in the image she carefully maintained. Jack approached her slowly. He didn't smile. He didn't mock her. He simply said, Karen, I don't want fights. I just want peace in this neighborhood. Karen looked at him, surprised by the softness. No sarcasm. No revenge. Just boundaries, but instead of responding, she whispered. You made me look foolish. Jack shook his head gently. No, Karen. You did that to yourself. Something shifted in her expression, a flash of self-awareness she had long avoided. For the first time, she walked away quietly. The next morning brought something Jack hadn't seen in months, an empty driveway. Karen's BMW was parked neatly in front of her own home. Not crooked. Not blocking anything. Just normal. Peaceful. Jack stepped outside cautiously, unsure if this was temporary or a new beginning. As he placed his coffee on the car roof, he heard footsteps. Karen approached slowly, without sunglasses, without attitude. She cleared her throat. About yesterday. I shouldn't have yelled. Or blamed you. Jack stayed silent, letting her continue. She sighed. I got used to feeling in control around here. Maybe too used to it. It wasn't an apology wrapped in theatrics. It was real. Unexpected. Human. Jack nodded. We can start over. No hard feelings. Karen exhaled like a burden had lifted. I think I needed that reminder. And the steel posts? Jack asked lightly. She cracked a tiny smile. They're effective. Neighbors peeking from windows watched the moment unfold with relief. The street finally felt calm again. Karen walked back home, quiet and reflective, not defeated, but changed. Jack looked at the yellow posts glinting in the sun. They weren't symbols of conflict anymore. They were symbols of peace earned through patience, boundaries, and choosing strategy over anger, and just like that, the neighborhood returned to harmony, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.